What's up, Fight Game Media? This is JD Oliva. Might have been reading some of my amateur wrestling coverage earlier this year. We're trying to branch out a little bit from the MMA pro wrestling stuff, and this was probably the second biggest weekend of the freestyle season, especially every 4 years. We have the Olympic trials. We just concluded the Olympic trials, and joining me is a good friend of mine. This is Peter Kowalczuk. He is kind of we're kind of tag team partners with coaching in the off season when it comes to Greco specifically. And Pete has a unique outlook on these trials, considered more than anybody else that I know. And Pete, just give him a little bit of your background before we really get started with this.
Yeah, my name is Pete Kowalczuk. I am the head wrestling coach at Andrew High School in Illinois. But before that, I lived in the Olympic Training Center and traveled and trained all over the world, competing in Greco-Roman wrestling. So I got to wrestle in 2 of these Olympic trials. So probably have a good understanding what the athletes are going through. Definitely know what it feels like to be on the shortcoming end of it. And you know, the hopes and desires this weekend is huge for everyone who participated. And I think there's a lot of great wrestling this weekend, as well as a lot of great storylines that I don't think wrestling's had for a while. And I think what we hopefully as a community can do is kind of push these storylines and help embrace them a little bit as they go forward.
You talk about the storylines. The biggest one coming out, I think, to start with, was we were supposed to have 2 gold medalists, in the same weight class. The Olympics is different than the World Championships every year. In the Worlds, we have 10 weight classes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we get to the Olympics and there's only 6.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to condense things down. And in 2 different weight classes, we had 2 different world champions going at each other. The big one was 96 kilos. We had Kyle Schneider, and it was supposed to be against Jaden Cox. The official story is Jaden Cox blew weight, and it was super controversial. And I know you, Pete, you have thoughts on this Jaden Cox situation.
Yeah. So one, I don't think that USA Wrestling has told us everything we need to know yet. So the story is that Jaden had weigh-ins. They believe that weigh-ins started at 8:00 and went to 9:00. And really they went from 7 to 8. That is the story. And that Jaden made weight 96 point. He was there on time. He was at the arena. He was at weigh-ins. And then he made it. He was 0.4 over, which is about a pound, 0.4 of a kilo, about a pound. And then he made weight with 15 minutes over the extension. A lot of people are like, rules are rules. Okay, cool, man. Rules are rules. He's a world champ, And so I think that there are some things that are going to happen here, and a legal process is going to happen that he is going to end up wrestling Kyle Schneider off for the Olympic team at some point. They have till August. There's no reason that it's not nearly over. And I would love to see them wrestle. I think it's good for wrestling to see them wrestle. And I understand what people are saying when they're like, it's rules are rules and he's not above the rules just because he's a world champ, but he is a world champ. So I want to see the best team go. And I know that he should have made weight, but if I think Kyle Schneider's like drive to be the best wrestler in the world means that he has to beat Jaden Cox. And if he doesn't have to wrestle Jaden Cox to go to the Olympics, and he wins the Olympics, you can't tell me he's the best wrestler in the world because he didn't beat Jaden Cox. Like, and that's the truth.
Yeah, I see you got a point there. And there's something weird here because Jaden Cox's coach really fell on the sword. It was Kevin Jackson. But this is the guy who was the former head of the Olympic program. So it's weird. There's something going on that we don't know the whole story about. And I do fall on both sides of the coin with this. Like, yeah, rules are rules. And like, if it was, I don't want to pick on anybody, but if this was like Nolan Baker, right? Someone who's seated 7th in Greco and he's late for weigh-ins, he doesn't have a shot he's done, right? Jaden Cox, people are talking about it. Now, the only reason I would say, okay, we need to reconsider this is because if this is Russia, so this doesn't happen to Sajalayev, right? Russia's going to put their 6 best guys out. They don't care who wins what tournament, who wins this what. They're going to take the best 6 guys, and that's going to be their Olympic team. And that's not how we do it in this country. And I think it hurts us sometimes. Not often, but enough times where the best guy doesn't get to go that I think in this case, it is up for debate, in my opinion. There was something going on. And I do want to, this is the truth. It's like whoever wins this weight class has to go through Sajalayev, who's been the best in the world. at any weight, pretty much the last couple of years. So this is huge of who we send in this weight class. So do you think this is going to arbitration?
100%. There's 0% chance this doesn't go to court. I think that I don't know if they have a case, right? Because he missed weigh-ins. So like, I don't really know what's going to happen, but history shows that a lot of times the court sides in the fact of letting the guys wrestle it out, right? And I know that Jaden was only supposed to be into the semis, but he would whoop Colin Moore. No offense to Colin Moore, but that was the dude he'd have to beat, right? He had to beat two guys. He'd beat him, he'd beat Mock, and then he would wrestle Kyle Schneider. And I don't know who the better of the two are. I have no idea. I think that Jaden Cox has a better chance of beating Sajalayev than Schneider does. That's what I think.
I think you're right. And I think that's why it needs to be considered, because like what's the goal? The goal is to win the title, right? If we're sending a team out there, we're trying to win. And I'm all for trying to beat Russia, because that's the number one. And Snyder's a former world champ, former Olympic champ. Yes. But Sajalayev's really hard to beat. And I think Jaden Cox's athleticism is a better matchup for us than Kyle Snyder's.
For sure. And here's from like the pro wrestling standpoint, right? The pro wrestling ideas. I was like, listen, I tweeted this out. Kyle Schneider could have called out and cut a promo on Jaden Cox and said, I want to prove that I'm the best wrestler in the world. And I'm not the best wrestler in the world unless I beat Jaden Cox. He doesn't have to do it. He's not going to do it. Of course he isn't. But he could, and it would be awesome, and he should have, because I think personally, from what I hear from Jaden Cox and from Kyle Schneider and Kyle Dyke and these David Taylors of the world, man, they function on a different level. They're not trying to just make the Olympic Games. They want to be the best wrestler in the world. And for Kyle Schneider to prove he's the best wrestler in the world, he has to beat Jaden Cox, because this story isn't going away. They're going to ask him questions in Tokyo. Oh, what do you think about Jaden Cox? His first question when he got backstage was, well, what do you think if you wrestle Jaden Cox? And it's just like, they're going to have to meet at some point. They're going to have to figure this out.
The precedent has also been set where settling an Olympic team has gone to arbitration in the past. This isn't something that we're just inventing on the spot. Like, there is a history of Olympic spots being decided by arbitrators, being decided in a court of law. So I don't know. Like, I would like USA Wrestling to consider it. Like, they can have a special wrestle off at Fargo, like they had in the past, to determine world team memberships. Something can be done. Like, I just want to make sure the best guy at 96 kilos goes, because they're definitely number two. Whoever we send is definitely number two on paper. I want to see that guy beat Sajalayev. And it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Schneider and Cox could be 2-3 in the world, right? So like, if it's swimming, they're both going. It's not swimming. We only send one guy at the weight class. So I want to see the best guy go. I don't care if it's Kyle Schneider or if it's Jaden Cox. I just want to see it happen. And as a wrestling fan, we need these big matchups to happen. And this is our problem, is that these tournaments happen and then we don't get to see these matchups. And this is on Jaden. Of course it is. This was going to happen. But the wrestling community still wants to see it. I want to see it, and it should happen before the Olympics.
We talk about being the best in the world. As far as U.S., no one has got a better claim to being the best in the world over the last decade than Jordan Burroughs. And he's lost, I believe, 3, maybe 4 high-level international matches over the last decade. And last night we saw him wrestle Kyle Dyke. And Kyle Dyke is someone who's a 2-time world champion at a non-Olympic weight class. So Kyle Dyke had to make a pretty stiff drop of something like 8 kilograms to wrestle off with Jordan Burroughs. And he beat Burroughs 2 matches to none. So I'll say this, the best wrestler of our generation at 32 years old is not representing the U.S. for the first time since 2010. It's crazy for me to say it, but I don't know, man. You watched that match last night. Both those matches, Kyle Dyke was a significantly better wrestler than Jordan Burroughs.
Dude, I think, and Kyle said it afterwards, and I was trying to figure out, there's a picture of them going around when Kyle, put his hands on Jordan's chest and he's talking to him. And you just think that Jordan Burroughs absolutely brought the best out of Kyle Dyke. And it just felt like Kyle Dyke's time. And to me, before the matches, I was looking kind of at body language stuff and looking at Jordan Burroughs. He didn't look the same. He had that like eye of the tiger. I don't know how to explain it. But his body language felt off to me. He knew he was in trouble, I think, yesterday.
I agree with that. Like I haven't seen him move that way since Rio in 2016, which was the worst international tournament of his career, and he didn't
Yeah.
place. The only high level freestyle tournament the man hasn't placed in a decade was Olympics in 2016. I really wanted to see him get back, but he just didn't have that snap in his step. He just didn't push the pace enough. And Kyle Dake, he's not an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination, never has been, but you just can't score on the man. And that is so valuable in freestyle.
For sure. He's not an offensive juggernaut, but he might be the best defensive wrestler ever.
Ever.
He shuts down people. He shut down Chamizo. He shut down Burroughs. He's, I think he poses a whole different puzzle than Jordan Burroughs does because he's constantly on offense. But like, if you can't score on the man and he can score on you when you try to score, it's trouble. And all those positions yesterday that he scored in when he got down those chest wraps were stopped Burroughs' best attack. And really the one I thought that Burroughs was going to score, I think was a high crotch. Yep. I thought for sure he was going to score. He had great position, had him on his hip, and Dake does what Dake does and got his hips out and was able to square his hips and kind of get out of there. And with the just ridiculous amount of flexibility and defense and really just understanding positions better than anyone else does is what it looks like. Because he was putting Jordan Burroughs in those positions. And I think that's a major difference. A lot of times you react and you kind of like see where the guy's going to be, right? I think Jordan attacked and Kyle put him exactly where he wanted to be. And he knew, and Jordan knew too. That's why he stopped moving. A lot of those ended up in like a stalemate position, only because Jordan felt if I move 1 inch, I'm going to get scored on.
Because he would have absolutely.
For sure.
He's on those low ankles, and Kyle Dake is squatting down and catching him in the crotch. It's almost like he's doing a power. Like for people don't get this position, he's almost in like a snatch position, like a power snatch. Like his ass and his hands are dropped to the ground, and you can see that if he can pop his hips and get through, Jordan Burroughs is going over. Like that's 4-point exposure. That is so hard to make up for. And it's unreal. I'm really curious to see what happens in the games that he gets against Chamizo, because Chamizo is a different wrestler than Burroughs. And Chamizo has just this unreal funk ability that is going to be very interesting to wrestle against Kyle Dake's, just like he just has this impenetrable wall of defense. Whereas Chamizo for like that Bruce Lee term, you're flowing like water through things. It's going to be really interesting when these two wrestle come the Olympics. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. The Sidikov, the guy from Russia too, I think is gonna be that match between Jordan hasn't been able to solve that puzzle. And I think that Dake he just gives this crazy feel that I don't think you don't understand what that feels like. You can't train. It's really hard when these guys get to this like level where they're so good. You no longer have training partners that can give you that feel. No one can make it feel like you're wrestling Kyle Dake.
No,
there's no one as flexible or strong or as knowledgeable or mat savvy or as driven. And I think that it just felt like it was time. It just felt like Dake was ready and it was his time. And I think he's going to win a gold medal because he just wins everything else. And now after beating Jordan Burroughs, finally, it's got to be a huge relief. And it's going to be fireworks in Tokyo for him.
I agree. It's going to be interesting too, because Russia spent the last decade trying to solve the Jordan Burroughs question, right? They've never been able to put out a guide to solve the Jordan Burroughs question until recently. And now we're throwing Kyle Dake at them, which is a completely different set of circumstances. Like you can't have two, like Dake wrestles almost more like them, than some of them we would normally throw. Like he's got this I call it a European style of wrestling, which is, American wrestling is usually, a lot of go, score. Dake is something completely different.
Yeah, it's just unique. It's super unique. It's really smart. It's very defensive and very focused and calculated. I feel like everything he does is very calculated. And you can hear it when he talks about his training and what he eats and biomechanics and things I can't comprehend, right? Like this is a different level of human, and I'm interested to see what he can pull off.
He might be the smart as far as understanding competition, understanding his body and body awareness in general. Kyle Dike might be the smartest wrestler possibly in the world when you listen to him talk about his game plan and his level of attack and what he has to do. Like there's no one better in the world at maximizing his potential. Because if he went out there and tried to go shot for shot with Jordan Burroughs, it wouldn't happen. Even a 32-year-old Jordan Burroughs, he forced Jordan Burroughs to play his game. And if he can do that with Chamizo and he can do that with the Russian, it's going to be a different story, man. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not betting against Dyke. I'm not betting against Dyke. I think he's the favorite to win it, and I think he should. And we'll see what happens. It's gonna be exciting though.
What do you think? What do you think about this freestyle team overall? What do you think about the team we're sending?
I think it's really good.
Me too.
I think it's really good. So Schneider obviously favored to medal. I think. Can we talk about Gable Steveson, man, for 1 second, please? Can I get some heavyweight love?
So let's before I get this, I've been tweeting about this. I've been writing about this on the site. This is a name you guys, our fight game people are going to know for a long time. Gable Stevenson is 20 years old. He is a 265-pound man that can do backflips, who might be the best athlete in the NCAA last year. Maybe.
Yeah. Dude, yes, I mean, 100%. 100%. Listen, here, like as I'm a heavyweight, right? And I know this team is really good. Gable Steveson, he for sure he's right in the mix to win an Olympic gold medal, and he's only 20 years old. And as a wrestling fan, I don't know how much longer we get him. He might not come back to NCAA wrestling after this year. If he wins the Olympics, there's just blank checks being written everywhere, right? So there'd be no reason for him to come back. But I will say, the way he moves as a heavyweight and the way he can get to an outside attack and just absolutely decimate people and score points at will, this isn't like, we've never seen a heavyweight like this in America, or maybe the world. Right? He's 20. He is 20. He's going after grown men, right? And there's a clip of him talking about the Turk, Agul, and he's like, I'm going to get him. And I'm like, yes, you are. And it's going to be awesome.
This is what's crazy about, like, I'm going to be real. Gable is the best heavyweight, like pure athlete heavyweight, the U.S. This is a name you guys will recognize. The best U.S. heavyweight we've had since Kurt Angle. But he's better at this stage of the game. He's significantly better than Kurt Angle was, right?
For sure. And I think if we're talking just like a pro wrestling, like ability level, he understands the game already. And people it's funny because he went full babyface turn, I would say.
Yeah.
Because during the season, the last couple of years, people hated him because he knows he's better than everybody else. And people in the wrestling community, the amateur wrestling community, hate to see that.
Yes.
And then now, all of a sudden, all this talk is backed up, and then he makes the Olympic team, and people are doing a standing ovation because they want to see a dude do a 270-pound man do a backflip 4 feet in the air. So, which is incredible.
Look at this. 2 weeks ago, he wins an NCAA title in the deepest division. We're in a golden era of heavyweight wrestling at the college level. There's never been. The kids who are taking fifth could have won it 3-4 years ago. Like 100%. That's how deep we are. There were 3 or 4 age division world champions in his weight class.
Yeah, and Schultz was a third. Schultz took second in Greco, but with Mason, Paris, with Gable, with Kirkfleet, they're all world champs in their own age division, and like that's not a real thing. That doesn't happen. The other weight classes don't have multiple world champs.
In a division, like, yes.
No, not in their weight class. In college, in a 4-year bracket, there's no one that has had to deal with that type of adversity. And like Gable was dominating everybody in folk style, but like his Super Saiyan level, his like next level of ability is freestyle. This man was built to wrestle freestyle. Yes. This is exactly what he's supposed to be doing, and that's why he teched the best American heavyweight in Nick Wazowski, who was a bronze medalist and stuff like that, who's a stud, and he teched him last night like it was like a JV triangular, dude.
I don't think that match reached the second period. I can't even remember. He scored points so easily on a returning Olympic bronze medalist. Easily.
The tech in the first round, the tech in that first match was insane. And I think he thought he teched him, And then
He
he
did.
was up 10-1. I think he thought he was up 10-0. I don't think he realized he lost that step up point. And I think he's like, I'm going to go to the Olympics. You're not scoring on me. And he just let him score a couple points, which is fine. But he's like, I'm going to the Olympics. This is fine.
Because he didn't want to, at that point, there's a great picture, Tony Rotundo, the wrestling photographer, has of Gable looking over, like he's pushing down on Gwiz's back. Like, I got it, right?
Yeah, right.
No? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it was just, then I think he was like, I don't want to mess anything up at this point.
For sure.
Like, no, which is completely understanding, because like for the trials, we have the best 2 out of 3 system. Like you have to win the tournament, and then you have to beat the guy who's basically pre-qualified, right? So you got to win a tournament, and then you got to go best 2 out of 3 with pretty much the best guy in the country. Our country makes it tough to make the Olympic team. Like you have to go through a freaking fire to make the Olympic team.
Definitely.
And Gable Steveson, like the NCAA tournament was 2 weeks ago. Then he went through the prequel tournament, right? And then he went through this. Like this man has wrestled so many matches in the last 3 weeks. And then Paris too. Paris took third.
It's like insane. Kirkfleet was in that bracket. Gable should have been Hodge Trophy winner. For anyone worrying about that, but I'm worrying about that still. I still care. He should have been Hodge Trophy winner. It wasn't even a competition. It's because of the depth of field. But JD, your original question about this Olympic team it's very, very good. We're very, very good. I think Jo will make the team or make the Olympics. I think he's going to qualify that way. It's not, but he beat, that was a deep weight too, man. That's a barn burner of a weight. And I thought Yanni was the best dude, but Yanni got killed by Nick Lee. So clearly, that third place match, a little bit different game, right? Especially if Yanni was looking for the Olympics, but between those guys at the top 4, it's a good bracket.
Jordan Oliver's always had this ability, right? Like since he was in high school, everyone kind of dog-eared Jordan Oliver as the guy. And then he was a really good college wrestler, but I mean, taking that next step to the senior level is different, right? You have to find a different level of yourself, and it's taken him longer to get there. And I think a lot of people had written off Jordan Oliver, and this weekend he pretty much showed that I'm here, I'm ready to go. Like I am the best in this weight class, and he's got it hard. He's the only American that had the freestyle guy that doesn't have his weight class qualified yet. So he has to figure that out. But I don't think it's gonna be, I think it'll go out to Bulgaria. He's got to place top 2. I think we're gonna be fine in this. I think he's gonna qualify
for sure.
Medaling is gonna be tough, but I think he can. I absolutely think he can.
Yeah, I think every American in the team, all the 6 freestylers, can 100% medal. I think so. Gable, he maybe isn't favored to win, he's favored to medal. Schneider, not favored to win, could win, favored to medal. Taylor's favored to win. Dyke is favored to win, and then Jordan getting in, and then Gilman in the end there. And I think Gilman, Kale unlocked another level on him, and like he just like what Penn State and those guys do to like people's focus. And it's crazy to see Gilman's moving like nothing we've ever seen out of an Iowa guy. To be honest, like it doesn't make sense what's going on, or it does make sense. He's got Cale Sanderson in his corner now, which is just another level of wrestling mind.
Cale Sanderson went from being the greatest wrestler on the planet to the greatest coach. He's the second coming of Dan Gable, and might have Gable on another mental level. Like he understands where the sport has evolved to on a different level. Like Cale, for what Cale has done in the college level is absolutely incredible. And what you're seeing, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, their RTC program has 3 guys on the team. 3 guys who train with Cale Sanderson made the Olympic team. That is absolutely insane. And to see a guy like Gilman, this is the best I've ever seen Gilman, a former world silver medalist. So he's another guy who's got a shot to medal. Like
for sure, 100%. And you just see what they do to what their guys are able to do on, a year-to-year basis. And they had all of their, they had a couple NCAA champs. They were all at this tournament. They're all wrestling, which as an Illinois guy, where we practice was like wrestle folks down this season, you wrestle freestyle and Greco in the off season. To see a program that's embracing that, right? Where Iowa didn't send any guys.
Tony Cassiope.
Tony Cassiope should be wrestling all styles. The Iowa, like that guy should be. He's better at freestyle and Greco than he is at folk style. He's not doing it at heavyweight. But
absolutely
right. Spencer Lee's a different story. But Iowa didn't send guys. Penn State did. Penn State is putting guys in the Olympic team. It's like Alabama. Alabama, when you go get recruited by Alabama to play football there, they got a sign that shows how many millions of dollars their players have made over the years, which is exactly what Gable Stevenson could do in the wrestling sense. This is how many guys win Olympic medals when you come train with me.
Hey,
and it's just different level.
Who did David Taylor have to beat to make the team? Bo Nickel.
Bo Nickel, right? His guy.
Penn State University.
Penn State, for sure.
You cannot argue the results of what Gable Stevenson has brought to Penn State. Like, just on the college level and on the international level. And he's playing a gigantic role in the development of our country. Right? It's absolutely incredible.
Well, and you could tell that. Sorry, go ahead, Jay.
No, because I was Jay.
I just should say, we America's always been such like a grind country as far as what our wrestling style is. It's like push the pace, try to score late, get the guys going, always on offense. And they their guys have fun, right? Which is a really important thing for wrestling in general, is that we have more fun with it. Two, they excel and compete at the biggest moments consistently. They've never been they thought they were down this year, and they had three or four NCAA champs, right? And now they have three guys on the Olympic team,
and they're down year.
It's a down year. Like, that's not a down year. That is a career made year for any other coach. Any other Division I coach that has one guy on the Olympic team, they're ecstatic. He has three.
You just mentioned what the American system is kind of defined by what Dan Gable brought to it back in the 70s, that grind mentality, that we're just going to beat you and beat you and beat you. We're going to be super physical. We're going to be in better shape than you. We're going to grind. Penn State under Gable Stevenson has redefined kind of what that means. Like, their big thing is, we have fun. And what that really means is, he has created this environment where guys win a lot, and they don't ever look like they feel the pressure. Like, I would love to know exactly what is said in that room, because there's no coach in the country that is better at alleviating pressure from his athlete than Gable Stevenson, because those guys legitimately look like they're having fun. It's not, I don't think it's just because I hear a lot of coaches of our ilk say it's easy to say have fun when you have the best kids. I'm like, yeah, but a lot of people get the best kids and they don't ever develop. So whatever they're doing there is working. For sure.
And what's crazy is it's super secretive. No one really knows, because they don't talk about it. They don't go out there and talk about it. And Gable isn't very open. He's very kind of a step back. He's very quiet and doesn't really talk a lot in the corner, which is polar opposite of what we've been used to seeing. Mm-hmm. And it's super. I would love to know too. It sounds like it's a lot of sparring, from what I understand, but I've also heard times where they'd have to his brothers or Casey Cunningham would tell him hey man, we have to practice today. We can't just play dodgeball and handball all day. We have to do some wrestling, and so I think the guys love him and they believe everything he says, because he's super credible. And clearly, when you have a guy as a coach like that who can do all these things and I bet too, he could probably win a world medal right now, Olympic medal. I would like to know what the score is between him and Kyle Schneider. I would like to know, because I bet it's closer. I bet it's pretty close, right? And so I think that room, it's incredible what they're able to do year after year.
Yeah, and this Gable Stevenson came out of retirement back in 2011 after his team won their first NCAA title, and he made a world team, basically not training. This is a decade ago, but this is a guy who was in his early 30s who had retired, who was yeah, sure. And he was a world medalist.
For sure.
As a coach. Crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like I said, we love the male team. What do you think about the women's team this year? I'm really happy with this team.
This I was looking at this. I looked at the team picture and I was they're favored to win 5 Olympic gold medals almost. And that's insane, right? To see what they're able to do is insane. And I will tell you, yesterday, I think yesterday was a monumental day in women's wrestling in America, because Helen Morales stole the show in the sense of, Kyle Dyke and Jordan Burroughs and the talk of Jaden Cox and all this and that. But that match, that was in right. This is pro wrestling too, a little bit. That is a WrestleMania type moment in the end. Jenna Burkett's mother just passed away this year. Helen Morales has battled head and neck injuries where she thought she wasn't going to be able to compete again. And to go out there in that third match and hit the most beautiful foot sweep on planet Earth to make the Olympic team. And then understanding that these two have been friends for 12, 13 years and knowing that like, it's like JD, if you and I wrestle, it's like, I have to destroy your dreams so I can live mine. And like, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life because this is what I'm taking. And Helen Morales did that last night. And I was captivated, just like sitting there, mouth open. Like I couldn't believe that this was a real moment we were living. And what's tough for me and JD, we were talking about storylines is like NBC, you didn't know what you had.
No, exactly.
Like, that's what's frustrating. And I think this is, and I hope JD, we can touch on this for a second, not to divert from the women, but NBC Sports didn't know what was going on. They had no idea that like that match should have been billed huge. It should have been billed huge, and it was the main event on purpose because they went to 3. But that's a huge moment. You have the first Olympic gold medalist in American women's wrestling history going against someone who has, Jenna Burkett has a superstar her entire life.
Yep.
Right. And like you could tell, battling with emotion, she didn't know if she was going to wrestle last week.
Her mom died last week.
It's insane. It's insane. And so from a wrestling fan and where I get frustrated with amateur wrestling fans, and hopefully everyone can hear this, when you get mad about pro wrestling, the thing that we're missing in wrestling right now is the storylines, and they're real. That's the thing that's great is they can be authentic and real, but we have to play into them. That match, that was beautiful, right? Because it was obviously super tragic for Jenna, but the moment was fantastic in the sense of seeing Helen take back her spot.
There's nothing, I cannot think of a single moment where you felt like such high highs and crescending lows than watching Helen Morales against all odds come back and win this spot. And then you look at Jenna Burkett and she looks to the sky and says, "I'm sorry, Mom." Like I was up, I was down, I had tears. Like
you can't write this. You couldn't write it.
Her comeback and Burkett's comeback in the second match was incredible. Like it was incredible.
Seriously. I mean, this is like, it's like Vince McMahon couldn't write this. There's no chance.
Well, Vince McMahon definitely couldn't write this.
Man, I'm just saying, right? Like no one can write. You can't write storylines like this. And I think, but the women's wrestling team is insane. And it's too bad that they weren't giving out team medals because this team would be favored to win an Olympic gold medal as a team.
Absolutely.
And they're the best team we're sending. And Kyle Dyke and David Taylor on the other team. That's what's wild is like the women are by far the best team that we're sending as an organization.
Here's what's wild. 76 kilos. We almost sent a high school junior. Kennedy Blades, a girl that we know, she came up with in our Illinois system, nearly 68, excuse me.
Yep.
Nearly took an Olympic spot at 17 years old.
And then Kylie Weckler, right? Too.
Weckler too. Yes.
I think both of them. It's like, it's funny because I was watching it with my family. There were a lot of women with me, and like they were excited about watching the women's wrestling, which was great. Like I was happy because the women's wrestling was 100% living up to the bill, right? They fit the bill, and I think seeing those two young studs be out there and wrestling their hearts out, and obviously wrestling against people who are really, really good at wrestling, right? Having Tamara is a world champ and Adeline's a multiple-time world champ, and seeing everyone get after it and seeing, understanding that those 17-year-olds will only be 20, 21 and 24 is incredible because that means it's just going to make the women's division so much better and so much depth in it. But I mean, Sarah Hildebrandt, dude, she can win Olympic gold for sure. Right. And so when you look at it, like 4 or 5 of them can win Olympic gold. And I think Kayla Miracle she can place, I just wouldn't say it's tough because someone's got to be the 6th. Right. And it's just like there's no, in that room on that team, it's like, it's okay. Like there's so many good women on that team.
It's easily the best women's team we've ever produced.
And here's the thing, like this is a dream team type quality for women's wrestling. It couldn't have come out better if they would have handpicked the team. This is who they would have handpicked. So we're sending our best team, which is what's disappointing about the men's freestyle side, is we don't know if we're sending the best team.
No, and it's so weird to say that about a returning gold medalist like Kyle Schneider, but I mean, like, that's true. We have 2 gold medalists who aren't going. How crazy is
Insane.
that? It's absolutely
It's insane, and it sucks. It's part of the game, it's part of the deal. But it's great for us to have these problems. Except for, I just want to know if Jaden Cox would be Kyle Snyder.
I'm very curious to see what happens if and when that goes to arbitration. As positive as we're looking in women's and men's freestyle, Greco is a different story.
Don't do it to me, JD.
I'm sorry, Pete. We're both Greco guys. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, man.
I wrote a big article earlier this year about Joe Rao. He's been kind of the poster child in my mind for USA Greco wrestling. He's just like the most lion-hearted individual you're ever going to meet in your entire life. He won the Olympic trials in 2016, but was unable to qualify the weight class. So he was an Olympic team qualifier. He made the Olympic team, but did not get to wrestle in 2016. And this year, I thought he had found the perfect, because Joe is known for bouncing around all kinds of weight classes. He's a maniac. And I think he found a perfect spot. He had the bye. He had the best 2 out of 3. He's up 4-0 in this first match, and then they blow the whistle.
For what, JD? What they blow the whistle for?
They said he was choking him.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And this is where I'm going to get really frustrated and passionate about this.
Good.
It doesn't make any sense.
No,
he was not. You can get choked out in Greco-Roman wrestling. We're the fight style. This is what it's supposed to be. This is brutal. This is hard. This is difficult. These are grown men who know exactly what they're signing up for, and you get choked out, and that happens. Robbie Smith made a career out of it. He made the Olympic team. He choked out. I think he choked out Adam Kuhn unconscious at one point. Right? That's the deal. That's what happens. You were allowed to stop it. Sure. You cannot stop it when you are about to throw. He was going to tech that dude in 30 seconds and then go back and then do it again.
Yes.
And the ref blew the whistle, right? It's a trap. Like that first whistle is a miserable call. And it's tough because as a head wrestling coach, and Jay, you know this from coaching youth kids, and this is where I have to be careful. Like, I like tweeting stuff out, but at the same time, right, we got to worry about like who's reading what we're tweeting, right? And it's not. I try to tell my kids, it's never the ref's fault. This is the ref's fault,
100%.
And it's not like, and this dude shouldn't ref again, and that's the way it should be. And then I saw him wrestling. He was reffing another match in the finals, and I was like, "Are you absolutely kidding me?" Like, Rich Bender, what are they doing?
We sound like we're complaining, but I mean, like, this was the first call. They literally took a technical fall away from Joe Rao. 30 seconds. He had the 4. He would have hit another 4, and then it'd been over. 8 points is all you need for a tech fall. Joe had the first. They stopped it. Okay, fine, whatever, no big deal. They get it again. Then Joe gets another front headlock on the edge of the mat. Goes to hit it again. They blow the whistle while Joe's in mid-move. So he's already started making the move. He's already started to get what should have been his third 4-point move of the match. They blow the whistle, stop it dead. The referee literally yells at Joe and hits him for a caution and 2. That means they hit him for a penalty, 2 points. Right? Yeah. They gave the other guy 2 points for really no reason.
So I was doing some investigative research in the DMs yesterday, trying to figure out exactly what was going on. And so apparently what they hit him for, or what that guy cautioned him for, was for continuation when he blew the whistle. But like, you don't blame Joe because there's no reason to blow the whistle there. And I guess he did it before, so they give caution too. But then on top of this, I can't believe that if you were in an attacking position, right, and then you get caution in 2, you should go back in your feet. What they did was they put Joe down, and I think that's a mess up in procedure. Yes. Right. And this is where it's difficult, because in that moment to challenge, you have to think about this. Joe is up 4-2, right? It's the first period. It's a really hard challenge, because just because you know what's right or wrong, and the issue with the Greco-Roman rules is that no one really knows what's going on.
That's the problem.
Still going on.
That's the
and
big
Brian
problem.
Medlin, one of the best Greco coaches in the country, who definitely knows the rules of wrestling, and Bezic was sitting right there. They know, right? And so, like, but you're looking at it and you're going, if you talk about the situation, hindsight's 2020. And I know what USA Wrestling says. they're going to say is, well, if you thought it was wrong, you should have thrown the challenge brick. But when you're talking about, like, it shouldn't be on the coaches to know the procedure 24/7 and constantly calling out the referees. We have 3 referees for a reason. They should know what's going on. But here's the problem is that they didn't throw the brick. So you can't challenge procedure afterwards. But I do think that this is another match. It's going to go to arbitration. It should, unless Joe's done.
That's
right?
the question.
And I wouldn't blame Joe. I think he's had a great career. I love the guy too. And he lost his next match, right? But like, you can't. The problem is that you can't prepare for that circumstance of adversity, knowing ahead of time that was going to happen. You have no idea that's going to happen. And the one thing for our dear friend Brian Medlin, who deserves, like, him and Joe Rao deserve to go to the Olympic Games. And more than anyone knows, more than anybody. And they love it more than anybody. It's not even close. Like, I really love wrestling, and my love of wrestling isn't near as much as those two put together.
No, absolutely.
Right.
Same.
And so they as a team deserve this trip. They deserve to go. And I'm not taking anything away from the other guy, but that was stripped from them. And a lot of times, like, JD, you know Brian, and like, he will get if there's something that man has in him, is that he does not take well when he is screwed over. And a lot of times I will tell him that he was wrong in that circumstance. This circumstance, he did get it taken from him, and he was done wrong. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was because it was Medlin, but they did screw Joe over, right? And it was terrible.
And that's what hurts, is like, so Joe's down, Joe gets turned twice in the time, which sucks. You know, you could say, well, you shouldn't get turned. Well, man, Stefano's got a good gut winch. He's got a good gut. Like, it's, when you put a guy,
finals of Greco-Roman wrestling, they're going to be good at wrestling,
right? You know? When you put a guy down, because they literally they put you in your worst position, which is like, it's such a crazy thing to put. Like, there's no other sport. It's like in basketball, it's just, I can't even describe it. I can't even think of a proper analogy. It frustrates me so much. Like, so Joe's down, then he gets up, they hit him, they hit the other guy for 1. So Joe's down by 1 point. He's got an underhook and a pinch headlock, pushing the guy. Guy's got his hips out. He's pushing, whistle. They blew it dead. 3 scoring positions. They just blew it dead with like 5 seconds to go in the match. Like, let them wrestle through it. We have short time. See if you can score. And they stop it again. It just makes absolutely no sense to me, to the point where the commentator, I think it might have been John Smith, says, he goes, I'm not this guy, but I have never seen a mat official change the complexity of a match so much.
Yeah, I don't know who was saying it, but yeah, I mean, for a commentator, and like, the thing is, a lot of times, like,
unbelievable.
These guys are wrestling coaches and whatever, like Marikatani, and I would like to talk about that, but dude, it is it's sad to see, man. It's super sad to see, and man, literally, there isn't a more deserving human than I've been around a lot of these elite athletes, man. I grew up, I spent my formative years, my 20s, with a lot of studs, and Joe Rao is amongst the hardest working, hardcore individuals I've ever been around. And I know he wanted this bad. And my heart aches for him, because I don't think he was given a fair shake. And all we ever want as competitors is just a fair chance. And that was stripped of him.
It's just rough, because, like, especially in Greco, our sport is so reliant on procedure sometimes, right? And if you don't know the procedure, they love to, like, talk down to you, right? They love it. And, like, so if you know the procedure, and you could call them out on not knowing their procedure, and this is a case that I truly believe the procedure was not followed in this. And I get it. It should go to that's the one I thought should go to arbitration. But when Joe took his shoes off on the mat, I was like, okay, he's ready.
Yeah, it'll be up to Joe.
Yeah.
It'll be up to Joe. I do think he has a real case.
I think
he has a real case, but I don't know. So they re-wrestle that first one, and if Joe wins, they'd wrestle the third one, is what I would guess. But again, there's plenty of time. This could all be solved. It deserves to go to trial. And I think here, and this is where I know that Medlin's kicking himself. He didn't throw that brick, and and that's where, we've had those battles in Fargo with sometimes the word procedure. You have to challenge procedure, and then they would have got the head referee, and it wasn't challenged. So I think they have a case. I just also know that the procedure of appealing and getting this stuff done is not looking good in the favor. But
And they changed the rules. It used to be you could file a protest afterwards if you feel the procedure wasn't followed.
Yeah,
Written
for sure.
protest, then they review. But now it's different. Like they've changed. Like this is the one. Greco-Roman wrestling is a sport that fundamentally changes the very core of its rules every freaking 5 years. It seems right. Like
I can't keep up, but I love it, man.
I know this
I
is
don't
what
I don't know what's going on, and I
this is
love
what
it.
we do, and it's like every year it's like, okay, what's the rule now with this? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like it's
And it's a tough look, and what's hard too is like Greco really wasn't given its due on NBC yesterday, which is sad, right? And I think what's hard, and I think a lot of Greco guys don't like Greco people like don't like hearing this like tough facts, is that like they said it on the broadcast. The first thing they talked about Greco-Roman wrestling hasn't had an Olympic medal in 2 Olympics.
Mhm.
That's forever. You know what I mean? Like that, and that part of it is really difficult because we have to produce, as a Greco community, athletes that can compete at a high level consistently and win medals. And when those medals are won, we will get our time. But until those medals are won, until we start showing that we're competitive internationally, then it doesn't really matter. You know, we can fight and you can yell as much as you want on Twitter about NBC's coverage, but like it's our own doing. You know, like it's about guys getting medals, and unfortunately, like this is the senior level. It's about wins and losses. It's not about having fun. You know, this is a business at this point.
We call it amateur wrestling because the term professional wrestling has already been usurped, right? These are professional athletes, right? These are these guys' jobs, and we haven't. I mean, like you could say we're part of the problem, I guess. You know, like we haven't produced. Like, who was our last medalist? I can't even remember who the last guy to medal was, to be honest with you. We're talking 08.
Yeah, that would have 08 would have been Wheeling.
Okay.
Wheeler.
Oh yeah,
Adam Wheeler.
Adam Wheeler.
Yeah, he would have been 08 would have been the last guy. Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
Then,
that feels like
and
a
then
lifetime
rule
ago.
on the 2 Olympics before that. So yeah, it's a long time, man. It's a long time. I think there are some good solid wrestlers, you know. I think Kuhn, obviously he's a returning world medalist. I'm interested to see. He's got to qualify the weight class still.
I think he will.
I think he'll qualify too.
What about Hancock?
You know,
what do you think of Giangelo? I think
just so that's a medal. I think Giangelo, I think Tracy, I think he should. His expectation has to be to medal, man. I mean, it's time. He's been close. I think he took 5th before in the Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. I know he travels all the time. I know that he's definitely super athletic, very knowledgeable of the sport. Obviously, Braxton Amos blew up that bracket, and then Tracy made it look like he was wrestling a high school kid, which is what he was. Essentially.
Yeah, Braxton Amos, 19 years old, makes the finals of the Greco, wrestled in both trials, wrestled in the Olympic trials for both freestyle and Greco. Virtually unheard of in this day and age. Braxton Amos is going to be an absolute stud. And
so JD, we have to keep guys like Braxton Amos. This is the problem. This is the dilemma.
We lose
way too many. We lose way too many. And I love Sammy Brooks, dude. Sammy Brooks should have been wrestling Greco, and I hope he, you know, I don't know how much longer he's going to give it a go, but you know, a lot of these guys, they struggle on the freestyle level, but they could be making Greco world teams. And Braxton Amos is a perfect example. I hope this was enough to keep him around wrestling Greco, right? We're lucky we kept Kuhn, because Kuhn was a superstar in the folk style realm. I think Schultz is going to be the same way. Schultz is going to be just fine. Cole Schultz is going to be just fine. He's only 19 too. So you got to think about in the 3 styles, we had 2 19-year-olds in Greco. We had 2 17-year-olds in women's finals. And then we had a 20-year-old make the Olympic team in freestyle. So the youth movement's happening in wrestling in America, and it's great to see.
This is a direct result of the RTC system that's been implemented now for a decade. It used to be, I remember traveling with a 2010 team out to Moscow, and we didn't medal in any of the divisions. I think we had 1 women's medal. Yeah, Elena Proshkova took silver in women's. Other than that, we went goose eggs in freestyle and in Greco. And the next year is when Jordan Burroughs burst on the scene, and that's when everything started changing. The Regional Training Center has been created to give every college across the country a chance to implement their own freestyle programs, right? And this is why we're getting better, because these guys are getting paid to train. We're not losing guys to MMA like we were a decade ago. Right, we're keeping the best guys wrestling. The problem is not a lot of these coaches are giving a crap about Greco. Illinois is different. Brian Medlin is doing stuff with Greco more than anyone else, and it's helping. We need more. We need more coaches across the country to understand, hey, you've got guys that don't have to take fifth in the trials. We don't take fifth at the U.S. Nationals. They're
Mhm.
good. Wrestle Greco. Like we need more better athletes, and we need our superior athletes to keep a level head and stay out of trouble.
That's another topic, but
that's another
I think
topic. Yes,
I think the Greco mystery is very difficult because we're just so folk style
we
focused.
are.
And now a lot of kids are wrestling freestyle, they're wrestling Greco, but again, you're going to keep losing kids because if Kyle Dake's winning world championships and we don't have Greco guys doing that, who are they trying to be? Now, Benji Peak, who hand up, Benji Peak, I ran my mouth a couple of times. You're a stud, man. You got after this weekend. You made Greco exciting, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And people were excited. People were cheering for him. We need more guys like that. And I think, our guys are working hard. It's not about hard work. And
No.
that's what's so hard is like, this isn't about dedication or hard work or trying to do everything they can, which they are definitely doing. It's just, we're just not there yet. And it's going to take time. I hope that Bezic gets NMU back to where it needs to be. Because in 2007, Greco won a world title as a team. That isn't that long ago to not have medals, and I think there's some missteps of handling the NMU program and handling Von Ivanhoff is one of the best Greco-Roman coaches in the world, and he's not coaching senior level athletes. That's a problem.
That's a direct correlation. Problem. There's a direct correlation to when Ivan's no longer involved with U.S. wrestling to the downward trajectory of the Greco program. I'm just gonna
for sure it is. So it's tough. It's tough. And I think like I love Gary Mayhab, dude. Yeah. I love Gary Mayhab. I think he's doing a great job of trying to get it. We just have to keep kids involved in Greco. And the problem is that there aren't enough high level Greco coaches in the country to keep kids interested. And even I struggle with like, hey, you should wrestle Greco. Like, coach, but I like freestyle. Like, I get it, man. But like, come wrestle Greco, please, because we'll have fun. It's great for wrestling. It's great for folk style wrestling, but it's a hard sell, man. It's a hard sell. And so we got to keep these guys around.
It is a hard sell. Like guys like us have to be salesmen for our kids to get them excited about Greco. And as you know, my high school program, as our success level has increased, we've been able to turn up our Greco participation, and we're getting kids that are not Greco primary, but like going out there and giving Greco a go and having success. And it's helping them, get more confidence in themselves and grow. And that's great for the youth level, but we need to have more of our elite level athletes saying, hey man, I'm going to give Greco. I'm going to give it for Greco. I'm going to give Greco a shot. I like, dude, a guy like Nolan Baker. I talked about him earlier.
Awesome.
Yeah. He took fifth at the trials. He's 22, I believe. He's a kid. He has zero fear. No one will go out there and throw 18 headlocks in a match. Like fundamentally, maybe you question him sometimes, but there are not many wrestlers that are as fun to watch as Nolan, and we need more guys like that. That's where Hancock's fun to watch. Amos tried to arm spin him twice, and he just like launched him. Like,
yeah, I mean, Hancock's amazing.
He's
and I think he's going to be super exciting to watch. And I think he's our real shot, man. That is the real shot. But Nolan Baker too, like, it's not going to surprise me. These kids like Benji Peak, Nolan Baker, they're the same weight class, but like if they make the world team, like Nolan's got a real shot at making it at some point, right? Because the kid's got hips and he's been training this type of wrestling his whole life. So we'll see what happens. It takes time, but we'll see what happens.
So let's wrap up. Where do you see the teams finishing? How do you think as we go into the Olympics in Tokyo, if you're a betting man, which I know you are, where do you think we finish? There's no team points. So
there's no team points. Yeah.
But I mean, there's unofficial team points.
I would say if the women, I think they're ready for the pressure. I think the women should win.
I think so too.
And I think that they have the confidence to do it. You heard Adeline Gray talking yesterday. There's no way that she lacks for any confidence at all. I think that it's her time. I think that probably losing in Brazil taught her a lot, and this might be her last go around too. I don't, who knows, right? Because a lot of the, like, her and Helen are, I think Adeline's 30 and Helen's got to be 29 or 30, right around that same range. And so they're getting this point, like Dyke too. Dyke is 30, right? David Taylor's 30, Jordan Burroughs is 32. So you're going to see these guys, they're going to have to start this, getting another 3-4 years in. It's a big commitment again for these people who have been living these elite lives for 12 years, right? So I think the women should win. I think the men freestyle are right in that mix with Russia. I think this is a really good team. I'm going to keep saying it, and people keep fighting me on Twitter about it. Cox should wrestle Schneider just to see if we make sure he has the best wrestler to go. And if it's Kyle, then send Kyle. That's fine. Even if Jaden doesn't wrestle, that's fine. But I think that he should. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be a good summer of wrestling for us.
I just want to see someone who can beat Sajalayev. Like, that's got to be the number one goal. Like, we talk about the Russian system. Like I said before, the Russians don't have, like, okay, well, this guy, this guy won this, and this is how we do this. They're saying, okay, you're the best guy, you're the best guy, you're the best guy, you're the best guy. You don't like it? Tough.
Sajalayev didn't wrestle at nationals this year.
And do you think he's not going to wrestle in the Olympics?
Of course he's going to wrestle in the Olympics. And this is the American system has to be fair, right? But like fair, everyone knew that Kyle Dyke was going to wrestle Jordan Burroughs in the finals. It didn't really matter. And there's some super talented dudes. Like Kyle Dyke wrestled Jason Nolf, right? Like that's a super talented dude.
Jason Nolf's good, yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? Because the best guys are the best guys. And that's what's great about wrestling, is most of the time the best guy wins or the best woman wins. And I just think that Jaden deserves a shot. So we'll see. Now, hopefully, this is why to kind of finish it off, I hope NBC does a better job of providing coverage for wrestling, because yesterday was the most amount of chatter I've seen around a world team Olympic trials event ever, with a packed house during a pandemic in Texas, which is different rules, right? So we're living here in LA, Texas, which is fine. Listen, if those people want to do that, that's on them.
I'm with you.
But the stands would have been sold out in Texas, right? Where we've only been able to do that as a country in Iowa. So to see that happening in Texas, where people are excited about wrestling, is awesome. NBC did not do us a service, and it was chosen by NBC. I know JD, you asked about like why NBC. It's because of money. Only has to be money.
Oh no, I get it. NBC was the guy. NBC killed my documentary on the Olympic team 8 years ago. So I've gone back and forth with NBC for a long time. I get it. I don't understand why two mats had to be on, like, because you watched it on the TV. I watched on streaming. I didn't understand why.
I streamed.
Oh, you did stream. I didn't understand why 3 mats were on Peacock, 1 mat was on MSN or on NBC Sports. That's what I was saying. This is stupid that I have to jump between apps to watch the same tournament.
I mean, they didn't have Gable on his first match.
How do you not do that?
Listen, USA Wrestling, this is on you too. You have to look at NBC and go, no. You put him, you slide someone over, right? And like, this is, I think that everyone, it should be 1 mat. It should be special. You got 3 mats going at once, or 2 mats, 3 mats going at once. These people this is like all they've ever dreamed about.
Yeah.
Right. And that's on USA Wrestling. But NBC did a disservice by not making it clear about when rounds started, when rounds ended, when the finals were going to be, when the semis were going to be, were they the same time, who was wrestling when. No one knew. I had like 5 text messages of people going, where can I watch mat 3 on the finals? And I'm like, I can't believe I'm answering this question so many times. And it was because they decided at last minute that it wasn't going to be on Peacock. It was going to be on NBC Sports, which and then they were only 1 mat on NBC Sports, but like everything should just been on Peacock. I don't understand what's the point of NBC having all this streaming service if you can't just watch it. And where is the multi-mat view?
Oh yeah. That's something ESPN does a great job of with the NCAs that NBC really should adopt. It is the multi-mat view, so you can watch multiple matches at once. It's like NFL Red Zone if you've ever looked at that. That's something NBC really needs. They really need to step up their coverage, because they actually think they did an okay job, but there's not enough communication, right? There's not enough. I shouldn't have to bounce between apps. It should have all lived in one place, right? They're trying to build Peacock. Put it all on Peacock, man. That's a great reason for get people to subscribe. It got me to subscribe.
It got me to subscribe, right? And I have to keep it through WrestleMania. So,
Well, now I'm
like,
stuck for a month, so I guess I'll watch WrestleMania.
right. That's the way it's going to be because I wasn't going to watch WrestleMania. I already canceled WWE Network. So now they got me at least for this week, right? So I hope mainstream coverage is great, right? But it has to be good. And then I think that's my thing. But the announcers did a great job. I think the production quality was decent, So I don't know if you caught I know JD, you're trying to wrap this up, but if you caught Marikatani on Mat 3, he was killing it all weekend.
Matt, is that was Marikatani who was doing the coverage on Mat 3?
Yes, Marikatani was Marikatani. It was the first time, and like ESPN should find him. Anyone should find him. Flo should pay him. He should do it all. He's way better than Bader, right? There's like some of these Flo guys are out there that just yell in the mic constantly.
Yeah.
And what was great is I was in at my family's lake house for the holiday, and I'm sitting there with a bunch of people who don't really know wrestling, but we're listening to Marikatani's Matt, and he would answer the questions that they had before they could ask me, which is a wrestling guy who I'm used to explaining all this rules constantly. To have someone sit there and say, oh, the line underneath the 2 means that person's winning under a tie. And if it goes to the end of the match, there is not an overtime. And like to say that out loud or to understand, he understood the situations in Greco very well, extremely well, which was enlightening for me to hear because most of the time we don't get that type of coverage in Greco. And so to have a guy who understands the rules, it was explaining it really well and is answering these questions before the audience has to do it. And to a casual viewer, he did such a great job of explaining how wrestling works. And our biggest problem is that it's hard to understand.
I liked him better than whoever the NBC guy was with John Smith. I thought Marikatani was on his own. That's really difficult to do. Commentate and carry it without like he was doing the play-by-play and the color. That's a really hard thing to do. And he did it with such like a relaxed candor. Like he was so chill about it and did it I didn't realize it was him. He knocked it out of the park. He's the guy they should.
I don't know the guy with the Jersey accent. I do like him. I know he's done some of Flo stuff before. I do like him. I know Shane Sparks was on.
Shane does
and then Bader was on there too, but Bader, I mean,
I don't want to bury anybody on this.
That's fine.
So that's really good. I would like to definitely come back when we get to our Tokyo and do this again. When we have the Olympics going on. So that's what we got. Fight Game. Thanks for digging on some amateur wrestling stuff. We have a really good freestyle program coming out this year. Hopefully Greco can start to play catch up. The 2021 Olympics are a unique opportunity to kind of grow coverage of this. We have the unique opportunity of the 5-year Olympiad this time around that I think we can all use as a benefit to help kind of we as a community can kind of help push amateur wrestling coverage through stuff like this, through the stuff I do with Fight Game, through these YouTube videos, through these podcasts, and try to grow our fan base because amateur wrestling, it's my favorite sport in the world, and I the more I can do to get people to love it as much as I do, the happier I am as a human being.
Yeah, for sure. It's important, man. We need the coverage. We need people talking about it, and I think this weekend a youth movement is really going to help. But can I real quick, JD, can we plug keep Stanford Wrestling, please?
Absolutely.
That's all I got. Hashtag Ray Blake, keep Stanford Wrestling, please.
I wrote an article about it for the website. So yeah, we need to fight to keep one of the wealthiest colleges in the country to keep a storied athletic program. We'll have more about that on the website as we keep going along. We're going to keep the fight up. But for everyone here, Fight Game, I'm JD Oliva. This is Pete. Appreciate you listening. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.